G'day guys, welcome back to the Fon Supercoach YouTube channel. Today we are reviewing round 10. So it was a reasonable round for me, I guess. 2,225. I don't know. I had no Grundy, so I was pretty happy with the green arrow with no Brody Grundy. So let's get into the team really quick. So yeah, I guess I hit a VC this year. I think it's the first or the second one, so thank goodness for Zach Butters. But yeah, let's get into the side. So starting defense, so Whitfield got tagged by Murdoch. And there's nothing worse than having one of your own players tagged by another one of your players. So that was a little bit of a tough watch. I think Whitfield could have worked through it a little bit more, but to be honest, I didn't think the Giants looked particularly interested in this game, which is part of the reason they lost. And Whitfield was a part of that. So, yeah, 79 is whatever. Probably honestly copped that in the tag. Sinclair 139 against Richmond. I didn't watch all of this game. I wasn't sitting through Richmond St Kilda when it wasn't close. So, not surprising with Nazire out that Sinclair's scoring has picked up. Houston 75. So, I don't know what McRae decided at halftime, but Houston was on fire until that point. He was on about 55, 60. Then spent half the third quarter on the bench. McRae killed his momentum and just had the ball all went through Howe and Maynard. I've done this to death. Does my head in. But the coach just can't see it. To be honest, I was expecting a poorer game here from Houston because of the fact it was at the SCG and Sydney are quite good. This week against West Coast should see a little bit better. I don't think Milan Murdoch is going to be tagging down Houston. So we'll see. Jordan Clark, 55 at halftime. I just knew I was getting 90, so disaster of a pick. And then Worrell, 99, so I guess that was nice. He's playing in the same side as Butts and Ball-Ace, so the main reason his scoring has dropped off is because of Dawson, who is swinging around behind the ball in his normal role. Don't know where that was at the start of the season, but good to see Dawson playing well. And unfortunately for me, that has come at Worrell's expense, but I still think he'll... D5, I don't think is going to do 105 this year. So that being said, I do think that Blakey, Dale, Zorko will all be better picks unless Zorko gets managed from here. Obviously got managed this week. So that was unfortunate if you went there. Perez, I think, will get a reprieve this week because Morrison, McGuinness, Ramsden, there's someone else on that list who isn't going too well. Not Ryan. I actually thought Ryan was okay. And he's an interesting downgrade type option this week. But I think Perez will get a reprieve, which is very important for me because I need the cash. Lindsay, 96, so got a little spike score here. Break even down to 56 in another reasonable matchup. So that is very good. And then Edwards just ticking along. A little bit of a slow burn, but should eventually be able to get 120k out of him. Yeah, break even's getting up there, so it is what it is. So yeah, Zach Butters with the vice captaincy. Gold Coast mids give up to Port. To be honest, I thought Port were going to run over the top of Gold Coast at the end of this game, but just kicked way too many points. So yeah, very happy with Zach. Got a good little fixture up here with Carlton West Coast, so pretty happy with him. I managed to break Marcus Bontempelli, so I'm sorry to all the other Bont owners. This was the trade-in this week. I can't remember what I did. I think it was Brune and Philippou out for Bont and Hamilton, which I'll talk about soon because that is a change. So yeah, Bont was poor. To be honest, I've only watched the first quarter of this game. I was out Friday night, and the first quarter was boring me, so I didn't watch the rest of it. But yeah, I don't know. I think fading this based on this score was correct because I'm still anticipating a rest comes at some point. Although the coach may decide that, particularly if they lose this week to my boys, which I think is within the realm of possibility, I could see Beveridge just saying, you got to get through to the bye, mate. And he was just a clanger bot this week. Sometimes it happens. So yeah, a bit unfortunate. Nick Dacos, was smashing James Jordan early and then got parked forward for heaps of the game and did nothing for pretty much the whole game after quarter time, where he was on I think he was on 50 at quarter time. So yeah, I don't know what McRae's doing. Does my head in, to be honest. And then Cozzy Pickett was tagged by Finn McGuinness. So Yeah, I don't know. Probably just a touch unlucky. I thought Pickett was all right, but McGuinness is like the worst footballer in the league. He has no skills apart from his ability to run. So when he tags, he just wears you like a glove. There's nothing you can do. Murdoch did something a little bit similar to Whitfield, but Murdoch has other skills. So we'll talk about that in a second. So yeah, Pickett, whatever. We'll keep going. If you traded in a couple of weeks ago, you'd be spewing. But there won't be a tag this week against the Western Bulldogs. So that'll be good. Callahan tagged by Hoff. I don't know. As I said, I don't think the Giants were particularly interested in this game. I think it's just going to come down to that. I said last year that his contested game is not quite good enough, and he doesn't tackle, so his floor is kind of bad. And that just didn't happen last year after the first 5 weeks, but now it's sort of happening again. So I don't know. This is one where if he goes like 110 from here, I'll probably just start next year, because provided he has a full preseason, that sort of stuff. But yeah, a little bit concerning, to be honest. The last 2 scores are really bad when I don't think they should have been. I guess 100 against Essendon is not too bad. But like, there's some bad scores in here. And like, yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned about this, but we've made our bed, so we'll lie in it. Josh Dunkley was on 55 or 60 at halftime. I was like, yes, here comes the Dunks 110. And then he decided to just hang on to Bailey Smith for the rest of the game. So that was frustrating. But surely this week, I mean, he could go to Clayton Oliver. I don't know. But I don't know. It is what it is. At least it could have been McCluggage. McCluggage, I think, has netted less points than Dunkley to this stage somehow. Then Murdoch. So 3 50-metre penalties against is like 20 points. We're not even discussing this as a potential trade-out option with a 60, but as I said, I don't think he's going to tag anyone from Collingwood. He could go to Dacos, but I just don't see it happening. So, yeah, unfortunate, but it is what it is. And then Brechko, thought I'd get a little bit more against the Saints. I unfortunately did not. Sorry. So he's probably got one more week before being cashed in. Well, I've got a lot of cash to spend this week. That's going to be fun. Angry Anderson, so he has fully reset his cash gen, so that is fantastic with a good matchup this week. Sam Cumming, I think it's time to go, just like has no CBAs. And when the bits of this that I did watch, when Cumming had the ball, he just looked a little bit shell-shocked, and I don't know if that's just because of the state that Richmond is in at the moment, but I don't know, it's a bit sad. He was looking really good when he was getting CBAs and stuff, and now it's just not looking that good. And then Watkins, 33. Bona fide scrub is what it is. Gawn, 118. So Heath played really low tog this week. And I'm wondering if the management of Max Gawn is coming to an end and we are going to get R1 Max Gawn back, which I would be very excited by. I do think the ruck landscape is very weird, where almost every matchup is very easy to score on, with, I think, the exception of Fremantle, Melbourne, Brisbane, and Hawthorn. And then I think the rest, it is actually quite easy to score on, because the way the game is working right now is that the Rucks are getting heaps of contested ground ball. They're just getting heaps of contested ground ball at the contests, because the midfielders are trying to get on the outside faster. So when the ball goes to ground, they're actually the ones roving, which is a little bit unique. And also, there's been so many like rucks that have just gone out this week. Like Pinet's been out, Nankervis has been out. We've had Darcy Cameron out for a couple of weeks. Tim English has been out. Like, the matchups that were like pretty reasonable in the first place have gotten so much easier to score on. So not having rucks has been a little bit of a disaster, but I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully we get Gawn back. We saw what Grundy did this weekend. But Jackson and Cherry both had down games. So we'll I'll discuss trades shortly. And yeah, McAndrew was quite good. Big stretch. I think he kicked a goal. I watched this game pretty closely for half of it. There's some way of saying the stats, but I haven't worked that out yet. Anyway. Yeah, McAndrew was really good. So I'm going to hold him for one more with this 54. Understand that Hawthorn is not a great matchup. I think in Tassie it might be okay, because it's going to be very cold down there, so lots of contests. So we'll see how he goes. Zach Ostelski's never coming back. Bad pick. Petrarca 94, so he got a little bit of Willem Drew attention this week, I believe. It's whatever. I held. I'm not concerned about this. If you traded in a couple of weeks ago, again, you'd probably be upset, but I am not. Has North this week. And if North is anything like what they were this week, that'll be easy. So Sheasel just had a poor game. He got a little bit of Peatling attention at times, but yeah, he was just poor, as were North. I think the second quarter, there was... that second quarter was... I haven't seen football that bad in a long time from North, so yeah, that was quite weird. Took Miller 86, so I don't know what happened here, but he was on 55 at halftime and then just disappeared, so is what it is. McInerney 137, very nice after a couple of less good games. But yeah, he's pretty good when he gets up and running, Justin McInerney, so yeah, he's been good to watch. Flanders 110 against an easy Richmond side. Average is up to 95 now. Very reasonable, very respectable for a forward. And then Hamilton. So why do I have Hamilton? So my original trade plans had Liam Henry in them. And once I saw the Grundy 200, I decided that it was going to be very hard to get Brodie Grundy in at that price. So I'm going to go down to Patrick Cross from Melbourne. And then Lombard went 90, and I decided that I probably wasn't going to get a lot of cash gen from Cross anyway, so I just went down to a loop. Giants have plenty of Sunday games, so this is why I went with Hamilton, because he's got the DPP as well. So yeah, got Lombard's nice score. He has spiked, was it 2 games in a row now? Oh no, just the one. So yeah, he gets held for another week now, and we see how he goes. So with a 61, the break even will be 24. Yeah, so he gets at least one more go now, which is nice. He's ticking along quite nicely. And then Jones, as I said, I didn't watch this game. Would have liked a little bit more, but the Dogs are pretty bad without Tim English. And then Holmes 108. He was whatever against Brisbane. Would have liked Baz, but we can't have everything. So yeah, my team is a little bit in shambles. And we're going to have to go bargain basement diving again. So as I said, my plan originally for this week was to get Grundy. And my trades would probably look something like this if I was going to do that. So I'll plonk it in. I'm not going to end up doing this. And Ison is the rookie I want. So this is what I was going to do. Now, my plans have changed here for a couple of reasons. So if you look at this, where do the final upgrades come from? Let's just chuck this here because that's where it was. So Lindsay is going to be a very easy 1-up, 1-down to somewhere. So there's one upgrade. 15 trades left. So be it. So that's going to be a midfielder because Holmes will swing back. He should get defender status now. Where do the rest of them come? So Murdoch's probably killed his cash gen now. We'll see this week, but it is very likely that he has. So he's going to be like a 1-up, 1-down with, I guess, Lombard. So there's another sort of upgrade there. So I've now got 1, 2. Wait, hold on. Maybe my position's not as bad as I thought it was. So this is 1-up, 1-down. And this is 1-up, 1-down. And then I've got this and this. So I need 2 midfielders. So it's still 4 midfielders to finish the side because I've only got these 4 and Holmes swings back. So one of them comes from Lindsay and someone easy like Cumming. Well, I've already traded Cumming. So Lindsay and Edwards, Murdoch and Lombard, there's 2. So I need 2 more. So where do those 2 upgrades come from? Maybe Rechko and Anderson can get me 1 with some cash in bank. But then where does the last one come? And the answer is like, what, Jones? And then these other guys that are accruing cash. But that's going to be like 3 trades, I think. So that'll be, I need 11 to finish. So I'd have 4 trades remaining, right? No, it'd be 6 trades remaining, which is not really a position that I want to be in. But I probably could do it. So the other option, the reason for doing that is that this run is disgusting. And this is with Nankervis. I do think that there is going to be scope. So Sydney's sitting very pretty on top of the ladder at the moment. Is a ladder here? Okay, anyway, so Sydney and Freo on top of the ladder. I do think that Grundy gets rested at some point. which would make trading into him at 685k very bad, I think. But if I get 2 captain scores this week, maybe it's not too bad. My other option that I actually don't mind is if I trade McAndrew back in and I hold this, and instead I trade out someone else. The next player I'm thinking of is Darcy Cameron. What would this look like? It would look like Lombard out, wouldn't it? Don't need this 20k. Probably. I want to hold this because I think Murdoch can make more cash. Like, I'm pretty confident in that. Rechko has Essendon. You can't trade Rechko before Essendon, right? So yeah, like my other option is actually just doing this. And I just make one trade, which is Darcy Cameron in for Sam Cumming, who I'm saying is topped out. And this gives me 3 trades to get Ruck. Sorry, it gives me an extra trade. It essentially gives me an extra trade because I've got a 400k premium. So why do I like this? Darcy Cameron last season averaged 105, I believe. Sorry, 110. Even better, 111. Playing solo ruck. Now, the reason for Cameron's fall off this year has been because he's been playing with Oscar Steen, who I believe has played every single game from here. So, as you can see, like the good scores are few and far between. I think something happened in this game as well. There was a reason why this score isn't as good, but we're coming into winter where there's more contests. And I'd actually love to see his numbers from last year. He started pretty well, I believe. Yeah, had Briggs, English. Don't know why this was a good score. But then as we're coming into winter, the scoring picks up. And his scoring for the rest of the year is actually really good, with only bad games against Wits, who's cooked. Gorn is gone. But he has a reasonable score here against Gorn. And then Cherry. And if you look at his fixture, this is a good matchup. English will be fine. Gorn probably not great. Good matchup. Nank probably back, but still a good matchup. Wits we may have seen the end of Wits. Cherry's not great. Good matchup. Should be an okay matchup. Great matchup. Great matchup. And then probably 2 poor ones on the end. So I kind of like this run, if I'm being totally honest. Which is why I am leaning towards this. The other thing is, I think Cameron, like if Cameron goes 110, which midfielder am I going to pick that's this price and gives me this trade advantage, which I'll talk about in a second, that gives me like a competitive advantage on the rest of the comp? I don't think there is one. So that's why I really like Cameron. There was reports that he was going to be okay to play last week. So the ankle I'm not overly concerned about, but I will still have my ear to the ground on this. And yeah, this is why I quite like Darcy Cameron this week. I may still pivot to Grundy and just cop it because it is going to be way more fun with Grundy. However, as I said, I do think there is scope for Laddams to come in. Laddams has been the best player in the VFL. So I think there is a very big chance that he plays. Cox played him last year. So I think that is on the cards. There is also the fact that Grundy may get rested. Grundy's body of work this year is genuinely impressive. Like he's looked ragged when he's been on the bench. So I think a rest is definitely on the cards. They've got a competent ruckman, well, half competent ruckman in Laddams, and they're way on top of the ladder. So I think that's in play. Also, something else could go wrong. Realistically, this should just be Grundy, and all of a sudden, I'm thinking of Jackson and Cherry. So the other reason for this is Jackson and Cherry. So Jackson has Gold Coast this week. Hard to know if this will be a good matchup or not. Where is this? That's Barossa, sorry. This is at Marvel. It's probably fine. But with a 120, he drops to 630. And then a 109 would give him to 600. But I don't think that's really going to happen. So Cherry's one option there that's really good. And this would be brilliant going into West Coast, Richmond. I still think Essendon's actually been restrictive this year. We saw it again with Jackson. But I think Cherry will bounce back in this game. And then Port's a good matchup. Collingwood and Melbourne aren't great. St Kilda's probably okay. Hawthorn's not great. And then these matchups are really good as well. The other one is Jackson, who I'm just not sure when Shrek's back, and which should hurt his ruck time a little bit. But he's another one who, St Kilda, that'll be whatever. But Brisbane North could be tough. And then he gets Geelong after his bye when he's a bit fresher. So they're the sorts of things that I'm looking at, which does mean fading Grundy, which is going to hurt. But I don't think I can pay 200. Sorry, I don't think I can pay 700k for Grundy. Where do my other trades come? So that's my dilemma this week. If I wanted a midfielder, who would I go? Let's have a look. Filter by break-evens. Let's go this way. I'll do that. So, Rao is there. Did Rao play this week? I should know the answer to that. I believe he did, yeah. Rao coming into... Rao's one that I'm interested in off his bye, because I think he will be a good option. So I think Heaney is going to come down a little bit soon. So he's got Geelong, which will likely be a tag. And then he'll be about 620 or 615 for Richmond. So that's a reasonable option as well. I think Bailey Smith is reasonably cheap. There's also Ed Richards, who I think is clearly hampered by injury. And at this point, I would be inclined to say avoid. So that is a bit unfortunate. Why is Sam Berry 500k? Merritt is another one. I just don't trust the coach at all. Merritt is the one, his role is what gets stuffed around to play the kids wherever. And I just don't want to deal with this. Even though Richmond, West Coast, Carlton, Melbourne, North, St Kilda has to be a very good fixture. I just don't want to deal with this. Bonds, if you don't have, I think you may go there, but you could fade as well. Lockie Neal, I don't hate at all. Everyone's got Butters. I wouldn't be going LDU at this point. 570 is probably a touch too much for Dawson, although I don't mind how he's going. If you had a lot of cash, you could go Smith at 630. I think, this is genuinely the lowest price Smith has been all year, except for last week, which is crazy to me. And then after this game, the run is quite good as well. So, yeah, Smith's a very interesting one. Nass is out. What is this? Is this all the players? What? I feel like this is not showing me the right numbers, or not the right players. So Anderson as well is a good option. He's got a break even of 40. What did he score? 134. What was it last week? 145. North this week. I mean, Brisbane, Geelong, Hawthorn, Freo is not a good run though. But this run in the back end is quite good. Only the one bad matchup. So yeah, he's definitely one to keep an eye on. If you don't have Rankin, I think he's a great buy, by the way. I'm actually kicking myself that I went so hard on the forwards because I think Rankin is a great option. What? Why is it doing this? Let's just do... I don't know why it's only showing me these. Let's just clear the filters. Clear filters. I don't want own. I want... Trying to think, is there any other good options this week? I wouldn't go Newcomb, by the way, if anyone was considering. The history just isn't there yet. I think there'll be some interest in Bowie. There's just got to be better picks than this. I think this will be Jordan Clark-esque, where he just gives you 100-ish every week. Actually go defenders. There's got to be some good defense. I'd prefer Wilkie to Bowie with the same buy, to be honest. And you can wait a week there. Geez, Darcy Moore's 300k. Don't trade in Jordan Clark. I prefer Mills to Bowie as well, I think. What's Blakey? He was tremendous this week, obviously, but... Yeah, Blakey and Dale, if they're sort of 500-ish, I'd prefer them to Bowie. Ash as well. I think Ash is about 500. I don't know where these guys are. What? Did I miss him? Yeah, Ash is 500. I'd prefer that. Dale, I would not be touching at 570. Blakey, 540. Probably wouldn't pay that either. What's that? 48. Okay, I was just coming up to them. Anyway, so they're the trade-ins that I like. So Ash in defense still, I quite like. What's Roberts priced at? That's not how you spell. 590. Up. You could pay this. The run is very good. Very good. And he's just not damaging enough to be taggable. These 6 games are unbelievably good. So, yeah, I think you could consider Roberts as well. So, Roberts, Cameron, Darcy Cameron, that is. Grundy, if you've got heaps of cash. Zorko is still reasonably priced. He may get managed again, though. So, I don't know if you want to go there. Holmes, if you don't have, I think is a reasonably good buy. Dacos, if you don't have, you can probably wait a week. Oh no, this is West Coast. Yeah, Dacos, if you don't have, is an excellent option. Pickett, I'd wait a week on. McInerney, if you need a forward, I think is not bad. Obviously, Rankin is really good. So there's plenty of good options this week. I think Callahan, you could go if you're strapped for cash. But you can probably do better, even at that price, to be honest. So, yeah, they're the guys that I like. Let's talk rookies. So, can I loop here? Assuming Flynn Perez plays, I think I just want to keep this as a loop. So, I'll play Lombard over Jones, just based on Melbourne's form versus North. I will field Murdoch over Anderson. I'm happy enough with that. And then this is going to happen. So, yeah, as I said, I think Flynn Perez will come back this week. All right, captains and vice captains. So, who does Butters play? Ooh, I like that. Oh, hold on. It's got to be this, right? And I think I can go into Gawn this week against potentially no Ruck Bulldogs. Who am I going if I don't go Gawn? Probably Bont. Bont or Butters, I quite like. Yeah, Bont or Butters. They're the ones I like. So yeah, that's how I'm lining up for this week. Let me know how you went below in the comments, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.